This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Good morning.
Just you and me today, Brandy. How are you?
I am fantastic. I had a great weekend. How about you?
Same old here. as predictable as could be. But conference season is upon us. So
I know. Our first one.
Going to have lots to talk about in the coming weeks, months, really. So yeah, it's kicking off. I don't think there were any this past week, but starting with guest eval on Wednesday and then rolling into many conferences after that.
Starting with the best, I have to say. It's like it's pretty hard to beat the guesty conferences. Guesty team, if you're listening, I've been talking up this conference pretty hard. So I hope you guys deliver. But Mexico City is an incredible location, so I'm sure that it's going to be just as fun as the past ones.
Well, first time in a new city, so there might be some hiccups here and there, but I would anticipate they've thought of everything and got some emails this morning about scheduling and where to be where and getting the buses out to different locations for their events. So very much excited for this one. And the three of us haven't been together in 2.5 years since Spain.
Has it really been that long? That's crazy. Wow.
So.
That is wild.
Following guest eval is Skift's annual conference. So I wish you and I were going this year. If any of the listeners are going, will be there. Make sure to check it out. We hope to be there next year.
Yeah, I think their panels and their speakers they have are always super interesting. So yeah, excited to see what we'll be talking about after that as well.
And I'm excited because if anyone knows Brandy well, she's a foodie and she's picked out a restaurant for the GMH team, plus a couple VIPs to go with us. Yeah. So that's Wednesday, 2 nights from now. It's crazy.
2 nights from now. It was Will can't have a lot of seafood. So I tragically Contramar, that's like not a hot take. Anyone that goes to Mexico City loves Contramar, but I sadly had to put that aside so that Will didn't go into anaphylactic shock. But the Mexico City food scene is incredible. It's going to take a lot of willpower for me to stay at the conference and not just sneak off to go eat. If you find me missing, that's what happens.
Fair enough. We'll know where to look for you in one of the world's top 10 largest cities. So
exactly.
we'll find you. No big deal.
You'll find me.
No big deal. We've got some fun topics today, but one of the ones that I wanted to mention before we got into things was an investment that, quite frankly, we haven't seen too many investments in the short-term rental space over the past year or so. So huge congrats to Richard and Marilee at Under the Doormat for getting $7 million for their umbrella of companies. So anyone who's done fundraising in the past 5 years knows it's not easy, but congrats to them.
Yeah, it's great to see any investment coming into the space. And I know that they probably worked really, really hard to get that. So congratulations to their team. And now we just get to see what they'll do with it.
Yeah, well, a lot of it's going to be for expansion into the Middle East. Under the Doormat already has a presence in Oman, UAE, and Saudi. So I think the investment came largely from the Omani government. So they think that'll be an interesting one to track. It's not an area that we cover very often on our show. I know the UK show or the EU show has covered some stuff in the past, but I think it'll be an interesting one to track. Underserved market likely, and the funding shows that they're betting big on what's to come.
Yeah. Well, speaking of investments and maybe investments that didn't go quite as planned, Rafat came out with a video diary, kind of video essay that Skift put into an article about former darlings, Selena and Sonder, and some lessons that we can learn from these two brands. And, it has been, we've talked about these, especially Sonder, like pretty extensively over the years, but these were two kind of victims maybe of the SPAC era, going public with, a great vision that was capitalizing on trends. You have Sonder, tech-enabled hospitality, and Selena kind of cornering the digital nomad group. And both of those things didn't really pan out. And I was thinking about Selena and how if they had actually kept that smaller and more boutique, that might have actually been the key to success. But the digital nomad thing was like a fad. There's still people, I'm sure there's someone listening to this that is like, I still work from a cafe in Bali. But it's, as like a global thing that is enough to like support a public company, it didn't take off. So if they had just gone boutique and picked a couple of hotspots, Portugal, Bali, Tulum, wherever, they could maybe have found more success that way and grown more organically.
Well, and similarly with Sonder, I think if anything that we've learned in the short-term rental space is that arbitrage windows close.
For sure.
We learned it at Rented. You learned it at Romy.
Yeah.
Sonder learned it through the public eye. But what hasn't closed is the desire for short-term rentals in city centers, and particularly in Class A. And Sonder has some incredible real estate. But another thing we've learned, probably more so from Vacasa than from Sonder, is you can't trade as a tech company and be a property management company. And Sonder relied pretty heavily on their technology and using that as a way to create economies of scale. And sounds great on paper, probably great to pitch with investors, but in reality, it quite frankly just has not panned out. And you have a great product, city center, and still haven't been able to make it work. But
I think it's because they were kind of like a poster child of this VC fueled, like grow at all costs, sign whatever leases at whatever rates, and just grow in whatever city. And so you have some of that Class A real estate. I think like the example here in Miami, their 17 West building, beautiful. And we were competing with them and at the time, and they just threw down such an exorbitant amount of money. And that was like maybe 2018, 2019. So it's just those rents have obviously only increased. And so you just apply that to everywhere they've been. And it's huge rent responsibilities. And then expensive people trying to build tech, but then still paying for other tech because your tech isn't necessarily working. And yeah, it's just, I think it's not being true to like who you are as a company and trying to sell a different version that will trade higher. And then in the end, it doesn't pan out.
And softening of certain markets like Miami, where there's lots of inventory. New York, I guess they have hotel licenses, so they're probably doing fine in some of the cities that are illegal short-term rentals across the board. Just like you guys or any of the other urban operators have figured out over time, you got to get a hotel license. Yep. And if you do that, then you're in great shape, as long as the macro travel trends are still in your favor.
As long as people are still traveling. Well, it was so funny because I thought we all followed like the Points guy on Instagram or whatever, and he did a video about him staying at a Sonder in Edinburgh, which I was just there, and I stayed at a Virgin Hotel, which tangent was incredible. Like absolute shout out, amazing hospitality. But he was talking about the Sonder building via Marriott and how like it was like, would you stay here? And kind of throwing some shade at the W hotel that's there, which does kind of stick out like a sore thumb. It does not. I'm sure it's a great hotel, but like aesthetically from the outside, it looks kind of crazy in that city. Very modern. But it's so there's still this discovery. People are still discovering Sonder. Like, would you stay in this apartment like through Marriott? And I still find it funny. Like, it just goes to show we're in our own echo chamber bubble. Cause I'm like, how do you not know about short-term rentals yet? Like it's not even like, it's not alternative accommodation. It is like a main source of accommodation now.
Yeah, we need to add that link in the show notes. But the narrator was basically like, I'm traveling with my family of 4 and I got 2 bedrooms for 100,000 Marriott points versus the W where we would have to share a room for 200,000 Marriott points. So shocker that that short-term rentals do have a strong value prop, especially if you're traveling as a group or with your family. Probably even more so if that's the case. But I think, the big shout out to Sonder that I think is going to pave the way for not just short-term rentals, but small boutique hotels is their arrangement with Marriott, where Marriott didn't buy them. It is a distribution deal. And this is something that has only picked up steam in the coming or the past weeks. Trailborn did a distribution deal with them. And we are heading in the direction of Flags, not necessarily even buying other brands, but giving key money to own that distribution channel. And I like it. I mean, it's kind of a hedge for both companies. You don't want to sell yet, but you might sell in the future. I would imagine Marriott does end up one day buying Sonder at some level. But this is a great way to kind of sink your tentacles in.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a great way to like have some investment, obviously like some skin in the game, like a relatively small amount, but then see if it works. And then maybe down the line, then after you have proof of concept on like a huge scale, then you can acquire them. And I think that this just speaks to more and more creative ways that people are looking to operate within these industries. And it's showing some willingness to break maybe from traditional molds. So I think we'll continue to see unique ways of leveraging different companies. And obviously Marriott has a lot of leverage there. They're definitely the big boy at the table.
Yeah. And it's tough to justify Marriott buying Sonder on the public markets if Sonder's never once turned a profit and they're losing more and more money. I think they were losing 12% more this year than last year. So going the wrong direction. We'll likely be able to scoop them up for pennies on the dollar in the future. But I do foresee them owning Sonder in the next 5 years.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe someone has to come in and scoop up, Selena, and they also had such a great like little mini brand, or maybe they'll just go private and go back to the boutique ways and call all those digital nomads in Bali. Paul Manzi commented that they were listening to this from a cafe in Bali until I made fun of them. So thank you, Paul. And then to all of our nomads in the Bali cafes, please keep listening.
Yeah, I don't really fault Selena. I love that they have gone, or that they went big on a bet and the bet just didn't pan out. And sometimes they do and sometimes they don't, right? I mean, I think there were lots of bets in the, let's say, the crypto space. There's one or two winners, but the rest are losers, right? You make some big bets and sometimes you win and sometimes you don't. I don't think it was for a lack of poor execution. It was just a missing the mark on where the market will be 5-10 years from now. And the companies that do really, really well, Airbnb, Brian Chesky, for example, can see 10 years in the future and position their company to be there. And I mean, even within Airbnb, sometimes it's worked and sometimes it hasn't. The experience
is luck, to some extent. It's like it's a good amount of foresight, but then it's also picking the right gamble and so that I think especially Brian Chesky has been particularly skillful at picking the right gamble.
Yeah,
for the most
and
part.
one of the gambles they're betting on is targeting locals. And Barsha wrote a great article from Skift about how hotels and Airbnb are both targeting locals. I love this. Quite frankly, I love it more from the hotel approach than the Airbnb approach,
Same.
because I've gone to drinks in hotels for business meetings or for fun. Like the W has great bars. I've been to the W in Miami, right down the street from you, Brandy. I've been to Ace Hotel in New York, was always an excellent meeting spot. There's Chicago Athletic Club, I think, but a nice rooftop bar. But you create a good atmosphere, and both locals and travelers that aren't staying in your hotels will come and hang out. And it's an important revenue line item for boutiques and luxury hotels. Boutique hotels, I did a quick GPT search on what the average ancillary revenue is outside of rooms, and it's between like 25 and 30% for boutique hotels. And in luxury hotels, it's almost 50%. So these are very important line items, always have been for hotels, but no one's going to the Holiday Inn to have a drink, right? You have to create an atmosphere that locals think is cool or trendy. They want to bring their friends that are visiting from out of town, or their colleagues or business meetings, have a place to go and meet and hang out. I think that we're going to be in that transition of travel from these long road trips or long flights to more local over the next few years. And having these types of places and the thoughtful execution of your spaces in your hotels. I know Will used to work out of a hotel that did, I guess they lease out spaces like WeWork. Great. Mm-hmm. Bring in locals. Let people come in.
It was a membership hotel. So you pay a yearly membership, you get to use it, and then you get all these other things. So it's like, you intermingled with guests, but then also you show up every day, kind of like a WeWork, in the lobby / dining cafe, and you would just pull your laptop and have meetings, and people were crushing. It was fun, but no more. Anyways.
Oh my God! Surprise visit from our former co-host. He's back. No, but I love this idea. I was thinking about again, this bar that I was in at the Virgin Hotel in Edinburgh, and the bar was incredible. Like that, I could totally. I mean, it's in a very touristy part of town, so maybe locals aren't going. But if it was in a different location, it would be a phenomenal place to meet. And then also, like in Miami, and I'm sure this is popular in other cities, but the spas and the like pool areas of all the hotels here, like locals go all the time. I think very specifically of the Standard in Sunset Harbor. Like I know that people go there, they'll have their spa, you go to the bar. I just went to the bar recently, actually. It was incredible. They have this little speakeasy, and then went to the Bayside restaurant for dinner. So capitalize, like you're trying to find every single corner of your TAM, like where like get every scrape out that you can get, because you're paying for that real estate, and there's only so many customers you can get to, spend their nightly rate. But I think for the Airbnb side, it's like, to your point, you're not going to stay like just, I think, in a random STR, but it's having the experiences. I guess this is what they're capitalizing on. Like, are you going to book that yoga class or a massage or something on Airbnb experiences? But the local push, I thought, to me was really interesting from his perspective, because and I'm sure many other operators had this, we had like a strict no locals policy for a very long time, because locals usually meant fraud or parties or something that was going to be a huge headache. And then we would loosen that up, especially in Miami. We'd have people that were, there's moves, your home's getting renovated or fumigated, or you're getting divorced. That's a big one. People need that short-term housing. And so I think it is, especially if your calendar's looking a little scary, it's definitely worth like opening up to locals with caveats. You can have people you can kind of question if I'm moving to Miami for work, it's like I'll be able to provide, it'll sound like I'm providing real details rather than like I'm coming to party or I'm coming to trash the place. People usually aren't trying to commit fraud and pay like a year up front. So
yeah, I just, from the hotel side, I'm 10 times more likely to go to even in Auburn, to a hotel restaurant or have drinks at the rooftop bar than I am to hire a private chef to come cook at my own house.
honestly, it's for sure. Same.
So I hope Brian's right for the sake of Airbnb and seeing the big future and everything. But I do think what's here and now and consumers are ready for and already consuming is local experiences from their local hospitality providers. Like, you don't have to bring them into your house. If I brought a private chef into my house, I mean, it's not the same experience. It's different if you're on vacation and you're bringing a private chef in for a group of people. But if I'm in my house, I'm going to probably cook myself. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd almost prefer to do that than have someone else cooking in my kitchen.
Oh yeah, I can't stand it. And I'm like, I always try to think, okay, not everybody loves to cook as much as you, but if I was like, oh yeah, you can, I'm just watching someone in my space, I'd be like, no thanks. But you know, I was also
right there.
no, that's not where that pot goes. But I, you know, I was thinking about the fitness class example and how that's one of the examples that they use is like, this is what people are going to use experiences for. And I would be so interested to see what the data looks like after a year, because think about all the ways you book fitness classes, like MindBody, that app, which has like, you know, every studio can create their own app through MindBody. And so you have that, you have ClassPass. I'm sure there's like hundreds of other specific like fitness ones. What on earth would possess you to be like, actually, Airbnb comes top of mind, like to the amount of work that will have to happen in like the zeitgeist to come to like jump over all of those other fitness apps. It would have to take people being like, you can only book our class on Airbnb, I think, like a studio or something.
I mean, that's a very valid point. And same with a massage. Like, that's just not where your head goes, is I'm going to hire a massage or masseuse to come into my house for a couple's massage. That's the last place I would look. Now, if I'm traveling and I get fed an ad or fed something from the Airbnb platform, sure, I get it. It makes total sense. It's congruent, but you know, I don't know, the Angie's List of locals. I think that's a stretch.
Yeah, and this is also where I want, you know, we're in our like STR hospitality bubble. I would love to hear from like who has booked an Airbnb experience that's just like a non-STR hospitality person, like locally. Like I wonder what prompted that person. If anyone listening knows someone that's done that, I would love to hear like what the process was, if they did it just because they heard about it or if it happened organically. Like I'm like skeptical, but I understand why they went after this. I do see from the hotels, that's where you're going to have more of the community building. You know, if more places offered like what they did for Will, like Will's, you know, you can go and work there, you get different benefits and discounts. I think that's a very, very smart way of bringing in locals.
Yep. And we don't have to ask anyone else besides Skift for the US travel trends on who would go to hotels, rooftop bars, restaurants, spas if they were non-guests. 73% of respondents would. So a vast majority of guests would, or non-guests, will still use amenities as long as they know it's open to the public. There are some places that you aren't able to go because it is a resort, and if you haven't had the resort fee, they don't look kindly on non-guests going there. But I think most properties are now opening up their eyes to guests not spending the night can still use their amenities, use their services, and capitalize on it. And 73% of people would use that option if available.
Friend of the pod, Jimmy Reps, commented that he decided to take a local yoga class on Airbnb and was surprised that the other 6 attendees were all locals. So I stand corrected in this one example. Thanks for sharing that, because that's so surprising to me. And again, that's just like, I guess, my own bubble and perspective, but I guess it's working in Jimmy's hometown.
Was that at your house, Jimmy, or did you go to a yoga studio or someone's Airbnb?
Yeah.
Curious. Would love more information there, but yeah, I think it's going to take time for sure for people to associate Airbnb with anything other than short-term rentals. I mean, they've hammered marketing. They've done an incredible job of branding themselves as the short-term rental company. And it's going to take time. And I don't know if it's worth the dilution of the Airbnb brand. And I said this when they announced it a few months back. They should have a second brand that's hammering. They're great at building brands. Don't dilute the Airbnb brand. Build a separate brand, and that way you don't put your core business at risk.
Yeah. Plus, they have the whole like hotel focus as well. So there's a lot going on.
A lot going on. And Jimmy did confirm it was at their studio, so not going to a stranger's
Wow.
house or hosting 6 other people to his house. But yeah, cool. I think
I'm eating my words in real time. I guess people are going to Airbnb instead of the MindBody app.
More questions? Were you fed ads or did you just know to go and look? I think I know the answer to that, Jimmy. Thanks for chiming in. I do also believe that's going to be a lot of geographically located, in Auburn. There's no experiences available as of a couple weeks ago when I checked. So it's going to be major cities, but it'll take a long time before it kind of percolates into the smaller locations.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the end today. Thank you to Jimmy, Esther, and Paul for listening in, and all of our other live viewers. Again, we're going to be at Gestival in Mexico City this week, which we are super pumped about. Will also be there, so you'll get to see the elusive former co-host in person. If anyone is going to be at Gestival in Mexico City, definitely let us know. We want to catch up and see everyone, and we'll see you all next week.